Welcome back to the team room, everybody. It's me. It's Peaches. We're talking about mental fortitude today and how you can actually make your mind stronger before you go into the pipeline, because we get a lot of questions on it. But first, this is called a call to action. Please go to the site. Please go to the onesready.com website. Please go to wherever it is that you find your podcast, wherever it is that you follow us on social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, and just leave a review. Leave a nice little comment. Put something in there for the algorithm. They love it. Go to the YouTube channel. If you want to become a part of the team, like maybe you want to get into the development tier, maybe you want to be in the pipeline tier, hey, you get a whole bunch of perks and stuff, but you can't do that unless you actually go and hit subscribe and hit like and leave us a comment and do that whole thing. It would be cool because a lot of you watch and then you don't really like follow the page and we have to do a whole bunch of extra work, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. So Peaches, how do you think people can start preparing to make their mind stronger for the pipeline?
Well, I actually think it's more of I think it starts with kind of little things and the simple things that you wouldn't think that would strengthen you. To give you an example, right? Because that's kind of how I am. How do you equate that? Is if you say you're going to do something, then do it and you finish it all the way. If I say, hey, I'm going to go out for a 3-mile run or a 6-mile run, and I will for sure start hurting on that run, no doubt. Where that happens, I don't know. And then I start to go, boy, maybe it's okay if I don't finish the full 6 miles. It's all right. I mean, I did 4. I did 4.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
the house
4.
is right there.
I was running fast.
I really put out day, and I've really been working hard the last couple days.
You don't need that last 2 miles, you know?
I am entitled to a break. I'm entitled to just do 4. I don't need to do 6.
I have worked so hard. There is no reason. That extra 2 miles is going to help you. The test is only 1.5 miles anyway, Peaches. What do you need? You already ran 4, you know?
I'm overdoing it for sure.
Why do you think that sort of stuff is so important? Why do you think that is one of those little exercises? Because I agree. Why do you think it's one of those exercises that really breeds mental fortitude?
Because it's forcing you to do something that you don't want to do. It's forcing you to be uncomfortable. It's forcing you to remain dedicated to something that you said that you were going to do, and so you see it through. And that doesn't mean that, you know, at 4 miles out of 6, like if something happens, you know, like, oh, cramp or something, that's not what I'm talking about. Or all of a sudden something happens, you got to break away. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about hey, at 4 miles and I'm supposed to do 6 and I'm hurting so bad. I'm out of breath and I just didn't hydrate well yesterday or the morning of. And so it's just hurting, which was me this morning, by the way. So
right.
that's why I'm like,
that's why it's so fresh. This example is fresh in your head for this reason.
And so I'm like, well, you know what? Sure. My, you know, cause I kind of do a couple loops. So like, yeah, sure. I could easily just peel off and I'm right there at the house and finish at 4 miles, but it doesn't buy me anything. In fact, I'll actually feel bad about it later on if I were to just stop. And that whole exiting early makes it real easy later on to then just go, I don't need to, I'm good. And it makes it so much easier to exit. Whereas if you continue and you finish what you started, you finish what you said you were going to do, you're going to be better off. You really are. And that plays into doing, you know, runs, that plays into training for the day. If you remain dedicated to it and don't make it a choice and it's like, well, today I'm working out, like that is not an option. There's not even a question. This is happening. Then you're going to be better off, and that helps build that mental fortitude.
Yep. And how you do anything really is how you do everything. And this was explained to me really well about it's just these little things that add to success. And I really took this to heart a long time ago, right? You start reframing it in your head. You know, I started when I got up in the morning and I started making my bed every single morning. The reason I did that wasn't because, you know, it wasn't the Navy SEAL. It was like, oh, well, at least you have that one thing done, or you can check that off of your to-do list or whatever. I started doing it because I heard, and I can't remember where it was, but I heard somebody frame it like this. You start telling yourself, I'm the type of person that does X. You know, in your example, I'm the type of person that will finish a run no matter what. I'm the type of person that gets up in the morning and makes my bed because I like a clean space and I like things to be put away. When you start framing it like that, then you start believing it, because every part of my day, as I'm walking through my day, I'm the type of person that puts trash away if I walk past it. I'm the type of person who'll turn a light out when I leave a room. I like to be the type of person that finishes my workout no matter if I'm tired or hungover or sick or feeling injured or feeling sore or whatever you have. I'm the type of person that won't make excuses when it comes to my friends. All of those things, you start to build that into who you are. And it's not just, okay, I finished this run and I'm a badass because I said I was going to do it. No, it's because that's the type of person I want to be. I
Yep.
want to be the type of person that no matter what, you look at me and you know that if you ask me for help, I'm going to be there. If hey, where's Aaron today? Well, he's probably at the gym, or he's probably at home spending time with his son, or he's probably doing things that are, efficient. They're supposed to be things that you're doing, right? A really handy little mindset trick is just, hey, I'm going to start doing this thing. I'm going to work out 5 times a week because I'm the type of person that people can depend on physically. When you start framing it like that, it's way harder to quit on yourself. And how you do everything, or how you do anything, really is how you do everything. When you start moving those goalposts, when you start shifting what's acceptable for yourself, there is no end to that. It is a slippery slope. And that's how people are like, oh, I don't understand how people could ever quit. It's because there's one time when they're doing an over and back, or when they're doing an underwater, and they're like, you know what? I've already done 10 of these. I'm never going to have to do 10 underwaters. It's okay to pop on this last one. This last one, I'm just going to pop. Everybody else is popping. I might as well get a big old breath of that
I may as
sweet
well
air.
get mine.
Might as well get mine. Look at this guy. I'm better than this guy. And he's popping over me. No, man, I'm going to go ahead and get this breath. And then that's how you quit. Because then it's like, well, maybe these other jobs aren't so bad. Maybe I didn't want to be a PJ. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I just, I don't like where the career field's going. Like, I don't like these certain mission sets. That's what I love hearing. Like, people would tell me about stuff when they would quit, especially out of like Indoc, and I'd be like, why, why not? Oh, the job wasn't for me, bro. You've never done the job. You're on prep team, dude. You've
Ooh.
never done the job of the PJ one time. Indoc isn't even a PJ's job. It's the entrance exam. So maybe stick around, and it never worked. But what are some, what are some,
That's just like the people that don't want to join because of certain, whatever, they don't agree with the administration.
oh my
Or
God, it's too
they're like,
woke. Everything's
sure,
too bad. I'm like, the
that's
last
really
time.
easy.
Yeah. I
That's
don't know.
really easy to just obfuscate yourself of just like, well, I do it. I would do it, but I can't, the administration right now, it's like,
Yeah, bro. I mean, the
dude,
way
really?
the world is, and like, I mean, it's so woke in the military. Like, people try to bait us on that. I don't know why, but I'm going to give up the game to everybody here. If you ask us a dumb social question on a public forum, we're going to respond to you with a very vanilla answer, because we make it a point to have those conversations behind closed doors for a bunch of different reasons. It's not like we don't have a thing. But somebody was like, how do you feel about the military and all of the insert social problem here? And I'm like, do you think you deal with that like on a daily basis? Do you think that that's something that you show up every single day and you have to have this really in-depth conversation yelling back and forth? Or do you think more so it's like you go to work, you don't see any of that stuff, you go through your job, and then you hear random second or third hand accounts of other stuff happening? Like, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't, I don't think about it that
Well,
much, I guess.
I do wonder, I mean, are these conversations a daily occurrence at other workplaces? Like
I
that are outside
sure,
of our community? Because man,
boy, I sure hope
what a
not.
terrible place to work if that's the case.
Jesus, right?
Jeez.
I can't, somebody said it on the internet the other day, but they were like, professionals do not spend time talking about all of these social issues when there's work to be done. So if your organization is spending time talking about these social issues, you're not run by professionals. And
Oh man,
it's a good one, right? Yeah.
dude,
And
that is straight to the heart of DoD leadership. What's up? I said it.
yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Like, everybody across the country is like, all these programs that they, force down everybody's throats. They're just like, yeah, it turns out it's a huge waste of money, and we're going to go ahead and divest from those programs. Like, those are the professionals in the room. Those professionals go, okay, hold on. The pendulum swung too far and this is bad for businesses. So we're going to get away from them. To answer your question directly, holy crap. If they're having these social issue conversations
Right?
every single day in a work center, I'd be like, get me out of here as fast as possible.
Yeah.
I'd like, get out of here. I mean, talking in the team room or bitching with your friends is one thing, but to have these actual conversations go on where you're like mandated to sit in a room and listen to somebody talk about it, I'd be like, what are we doing? Are we training today? Are we doing something important today or this?
Well, I mean, it's bad enough whenever we have to do the annual training for name the program within the Air Force. And
Right.
luckily, most things you're able to, I don't want to say get around, but they make it, they understand that it's just a requirement, and that the
Right.
problem doesn't exist at the level that everybody thinks it does, right? So if we're going to use any of them, whether it's SARC,
Social issue
sexual
X, who cares?
assault,
Yeah.
whatever, all those problems don't actually exist as much. They exist, but not at the level that you think they are, because they are so highlighted.
Yeah. Yeah. And granted, like, it comes from problems. Sexual assault is a problem in the military.
Yeah.
There's problems in the alcohol addiction, huge problem in the military. Military produces the highest level of functioning alcoholics, because the low level functioning alcoholics, we call them out pretty quickly, but that just makes really, really high functioning alcoholics.
Yeah.
Like, of course we have a problem with that. Of course we have a problem with mental health in the military. Of course we have a problem with a whole bunch of other stuff, right? But to the level that you're hearing about it, it makes people on the outside think it's just happening every day, all day, 24/7. And
And
that's
part
not
of that is because we have to report it,
right.
right? It gets highlighted more because it's the military, and the military is held to a higher standard. Just like we hold our police officers and our sheriffs, we hold them to a higher standard because we should be.
Mm.
They are, we have entrusted them to do a certain amount of things, just like the taxpayers and American citizens have entrusted military members to do a certain thing, and we are held at a higher standard. So when we do have problems, they get highlighted under a microscope a lot more. We are no more or no less than the normal society. We are a microcosm of American citizens or American society.
Yep. And I
That's
want
it.
to say, yeah, and per capita, and for all these things, like, I want to say that our problems are much less. It's just you hear about them more, and you're like, oh man,
Right.
as soon as compare the military to I'll take 10 of the top 25 colleges in the nation. Just take 10 colleges that gets up to, the 400,000 or so, people that are in the Air Force. Compare those numbers of these issues that we're talking about on their campuses compared to the military. And I guarantee those numbers are not the same. I think the
Mm-hmm.
military probably wins there. But so I'd say that's a good way to mental prep, would be like, understand things in context. I wouldn't necessarily believe everything I read, even from us, healthy dose of skepticism, because that keeps you away from the catastrophizing, right? Like, we kind of open this up with talking about how people are like, well, everything is terrible. It's never going to be able to be turned around. So there's no point for me to get in, because it just sounds like a complete and total shit show. We do a disservice to people when we kind of like bitch about stuff, and then they don't put it in the context of like, man, I have 22 years sometimes of backstory to the reasoning why I feel this way.
Yeah.
I'm not a 17-year-old that can't decide between CAG and Dev Group, trying to like tell everybody what his favorite pistol is on the internet. Like, we have experience that would lead us to these opinions, as opposed to some neckbeard that's just like, well, everything's so woke all the time, there's no way I could do it. I'd punch my drill instructor in the face. No, you wouldn't. Shut up. I'd say, that's just part of like mental preparation for essentially anything. But you need to learn how to, just like anything else, not get so worked up
Yeah.
about stuff. It's a valuable skill to have inside of the pipeline, is that you're never too high and never too low. Like, the good days are going to be good, but they're never going to be the best day of your life. And it's like, the bad days are going to be bad, but it's probably
Yeah.
not going to be the worst day of your life either. So there's no reason to get too high or too low.
Yeah. Well, I think another aspect of building that mental fortitude is being able to self-regulate.
Yep.
And it plays into exactly what you were just talking about in terms of recognizing a situation, whether it's within your own life, somebody else's life, or even just on the news or social media, and being able to self-regulate your emotional response or your emotional quotation to that thing and what that event. And some people handle things differently. We've talked about it before in terms of anxiety. Anxiety can be a crippling thing for some people, or it can be very, very useful. You mentioned, you make your bed, you do all this stuff, you get organized. Like, that can be a form of anxiety. If somebody is to the point where they're OCD and their life is chaos, if they're house or their room is not in order, like that is, hey, guess what? You're organized, your mental thoughts are organized, and you could take your room and your house and essentially use it as a metaphor for your brain. And now I'm getting organized. I'm always on time, right? Because the anxiety about being on time, I'm on time,
I
so I'm
have
never
such
going to.
I have
Right,
such a developed fear of
right.
being late just for being in the military. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm respectful, and I'm never going to waste somebody's time as long as I can help it. I'm also being respectful of my own time. I'm not going to waste my own time because I'm going to be on time. Um, I'm going to make sure I'm prepped. If I have a project or I have something that has a due date on it and a suspense, like I'm going to do the best I possibly can to meet that suspense. You know, I so I'm not disappointing myself. I'm not disappointing others. It's yeah, that sure, maybe that's a form of anxiety, or maybe that's just wired in me, and I'm just not understanding the definition of anxiety. But like, that
It's a
that is a way to get yourself going and get yourself in a place that is strong.
it's a learned response for sure, because I'm right on that borderline. Like I was hearing, as you were speaking about, hey, it's all good to have things clean and organized and whatever. What's not good is that you can't go to sleep unless you lock the downstairs door 3 times and you're positive that you already did before. And I'll tell you what,
That's different.
dude, I'm right on that line. I am right, like 100% right on that line, and I'm lucky to have a spouse that would look at me and go, hey, is this really that important? Because I will tell you some beef that I've had with the military, and I've always had this beef, but it seems like everything is your number one priority. You hear all the time,
Oh
like
yeah.
we're bad at prioritization. Okay. We're good at getting tasks done. Right. But it's because everything is your number one priority. I will tell you, if everything's your number one priority, then nothing is your number one priority. It's just a big list of crap. Right. So get organized, get your priorities in order, but then realize like everything can't be the most important thing. Maybe it is okay that, you know, maybe you didn't make the bed this morning right when you got up. Maybe you thought about it later and you figured it out. But man, you were saying that, and like that is a huge thing for me. Like I had to be okay in the pipeline. Like sometimes you just have to be okay with a 70%.
Yep.
Is that my goal? Is that my, you know, thing that I want to work for? Do I want to be a 70% guy? No, absolutely not. Did I barely pass a couple of evaluations, and I'm talking skin of my teeth? 100% I did. And I just had to be okay. You have to take your lessons, learn from it, and be like, all right, this isn't who I want to be. This was not my best effort. I did not do well on this evaluation for whatever, and I own it. This is on me to get better, and then we're going to move on. But hyper focusing on that, hyper focusing on the cleanliness of your given room, or
Yeah.
the organization of your given stuff. It's just like you said, you're not respecting your own time when you
Yeah.
do that.
And recognizing that and self-regulating and adjusting to that. So that self-regulation that you were just talking about in terms of, okay, I know that for this, I just need to be at 70% or 80%, and I'm okay with it because that suffices. Would I love to be at 100%? Sure.
Of course, that's the goal.
I'm not going to be able to get to there at this point, and be able to go, okay, this is okay. So that self-regulation in terms of, down selecting that, if you will, and just going, okay, 70% is good enough. Or, wow, I could fly off the handle at this, whatever that somebody said to me, but I need to take a step back. And that's not to mean that we don't mess it up or get it wrong frequently,
Oh, I do it.
but
I
it's,
do it all the time. Like it's even taken you and Trent like a long time to get used to me. Like something will happen, and I'm like, fuck this and fuck
yeah,
that dude and whatever else. And you guys are like, calm down, Aaron. Calm down.
dude, it's okay.
It's just how I communicate. Like it just is like I've gotten better now. Like I'll just send a voice message, be like, hey, I want you to hear the nuance in my voice. I'm not really that worked up about it, but fuck this guy. He's a fucking idiot. But there's a little equation that I heard a long time ago that I put a lot of stock into, but it's E plus R equals O. Okay.
Okay.
So there's an event, there's a reaction, and there's an outcome. Okay. The event plus your reaction gets you the outcome. You can only control one of those. You can only control your reaction. Can't control the event. You can only control your reaction to the event. And then afterwards, like when the dust settles, people are going to remember your reaction more than anything else. So while it is good to be transparent, to be who you really are, a really, really good skill is being able to take in an entire event and just sort of internalize it and wait a second and go, hold on, how should I be reacting to this event? Is it helpful for me right now to flip a table and burn the world to the ground and tell everybody that I'm coming for them? It might be, right? Is it probably a more nuanced answer to go, okay, cool, present them with some information. I'm going to figure out how we're going to work through this, and we'll go from there. I'll tell you what, the people that are calm in that moment, you remember them a lot, right?
Oh yeah.
You remember the people that flip out at every little thing, and it's exhausting. Like, it's exhausting for me as the guy that, even the perception is that I flip out over little things. I'd like to think that that's not true, because whatever, it's me. But it's exhausting being around those people, because again, if everything is a crisis, then what's really a crisis? If everything's a priority, then what's really the priority? It's sort of the same bucket. You can only manage your reaction to the event. That's it.
Yep. Yeah. It's a, to baseline it, I guess it definitely is a boy that cried wolf kind of things. Like, if you freak out at everything, like, what is actually an emergency? What is actually urgent?
Right.
And being able to regulate that is key. And like I said, we don't get it right all the time. Even me, like, I'm a pretty patient person. But sometimes you don't know what kind of mood somebody's in, what kind of day, what phone call or text they just received, and that's why whenever I deal with somebody who's rude or something like that out in the, whether I'm driving or out in town or whatever, it's just like, man, I don't know what's going on in their lives. They're probably not really that person. That person that cut me off is probably not being malicious about it. It still pisses me off. Like,
still
dude,
makes me mad. Yeah.
Like, but sometimes they really don't see you, which sucks.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it.
That is. There's a really funny bit, a Louis C.K. bit, before he got canceled the first time. I think he's been canceled subsequently a couple more times, whatever. But it was a funny Louis C.K. bit about road rage in general. He was like, being in that car is the only place. He's like, you will say the most vile, disgusting things. He's like, imagine being in an elevator with that person. They do something you don't like, and you just get right up close to their face, and you're like, you piece of shit. You fucking fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, you would never do that, but you put yourself in that car and you just feel free to say the most ridiculous stuff, and you get so mad over it. Like, and again, you're totally right. Sometimes, like, I totally cut someone off the other day. They honked at me. They were pissed off. I totally deserved it. I was merging. I wasn't paying attention. I did a quick look. I was like, oh, I'm good here. Right in front of some guy. Okay. Yeah. He saw it. He swerved. He honked. I was wrong. I got it. Did he freak out? Yes. Hilariously. And this is funny. It's funny we're talking about like managing your reaction to something, but I typically will troll people if the first thing that they do isn't like the correct reaction. Like, he should have just honked. I would have taken a what the fuck hands. As he's driving by, if he'd have been like,
yeah, and then it's like, dude,
hey,
I'm sorry.
My bad, dude. I'm fucking trying to figure out where to go to eat, and she doesn't want to say what restaurant she is. This kid's crying in the back. I got stuff going. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I would have taken a what the fuck hands, whatever. But he like, had to do it. Let me tell you the best thing to do to somebody in a car. There's two reactions that you can have to a road rage incident that I find hilarious. Number one is you can just honk back. Like, when they're honking, I just pretend that they're trying to get my attention, and I just wave at them. Really, I'm like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're like, me, and I'm like, beep, beep. Oh, hey, buddy. Hey. And, no matter what, you just, hey, they'll flip you off. You're like, and you just really smile at them. That's my second favorite, right? Because that typically incenses people. And by the way, this is not advice. You should not do this. My favorite thing to do is just a very simple, just a thumbs down. I don't like what you're doing. I don't approve of it. It looks dumb. Your driving sucks. They could take that whatever. When they like, they're just mad, and you're just stone faced. Just, it's great. It makes people really mad.
That way. My cousin actually has a piece of cardboard that she has, like, she keeps on the driver's side so that she can just quickly grab it and put it up in the window. Perfect. And it says I think it says your driving sucks or something like that.
So good.
It's great. It's so great.
I love that. What are some things people can do? Trent talks about reach back moments a lot, and I think those are valuable, right? Like, not the alpha male bullcrap reach back moments. That's not going to do anything but cost you $18,000 from a guy that hasn't deployed and slams a knife on a table, and he's generally a dork.
Almost stabbed himself.
I don't care. I wish he would have. I hope he's stabbing himself right now, for all I care. Give a shit. You need those reach back moments. You need to do those hard things when we're talking, physically. Like, if you need to go to a GoRuck event or a SOCOM athlete event or one of these other boot camp sort of events where you need to be pushed to your limits and see how the team interacts and stuff, man, I'm here for it. Doing it in a place that does it professionally, that doesn't cost you $1 million, it's run by professionals with the experience requisite to actually run through the program. Cool. what would you say are there any sort of like mental things, because those are physically and mentally tough, right? But what they do, like Chief Cox said a million years ago when we had him on, that gives you that mental armor. You start kind of putting on that armor beforehand so that you can deal with problems. What are some reach back moments mentally that folks can do to prepare for the pipeline?
So it's weird, and maybe it's just the way I'm written or wired rather, is reach back moments for me are things like I've done this before, or I've experienced this before. And I can appreciate that not everybody's going to have that, because they're saying, how do I strengthen my mind
Sure.
to go into the pipeline? I guess it's, for me, it would be looking back at times where you successfully navigated a stressful or a difficult situation. Whereas some other people you either noticed, or a normie would be crushed, right? Those are kind of my reach back moments. And I've said it on here, like I don't have bad things from my childhood. Like I grew up fantastic, and so I don't have that to weigh on like some other people. I know you just talked to Seth from Behind the or Beyond the Shadows. Like that's crazy
Man,
stuff.
like speaking
And
completely honestly, like I'm still messed up over that thing. Like
yeah,
I was not tracking his story. Like I had like done, the due diligence, normal show prep that I normally do for talking to somebody, and we exchanged some DMs and stuff. And man, he kind of like launched into that story. I think I said about 5 words that entire podcast, which is going to make some people very excited. I finally have a podcast where I shut up and let the guest talk. Um, but I'll tell you what, man, like I got off that and I was just like, it was probably one of the only podcasts that I'm like, I don't even know if I want to release that. I typically take on the trauma of other people when they tell me those things, to the point where I've gotten pretty good as an adult to be like, hey man, the story that you're telling me it's very important to you. And I think it's important that you tell it, but you can't tell it to me, because I'll have nightmares about the story that you tell me. Like this is just a random tangent, I guess, but there was a girl that I was good friends with, and that had a backstory of assault that I didn't know about. And then one night we were talking about something completely different, and she just kind of like word vomited this whole thing. And I mean, I was like, so it was a disgusting story. It's terrible. I was sad that she went through it. We weren't great friends, but it was good enough friends. But we got to the end of it, and I was like, hey, I love you, and I want to support you, and you're a good friend, and I'm sorry that happened to you, but you got to like ask before you do that again. But hey, I'm about to tell you something very personal and intimate, because I take that trauma on. So
yeah,
that to say, about halfway through that podcast, I realized, I was like, well, I can't stop. This is his story. It's not mine. Like I'm having a reaction to what he's talking about. And to be clear, I don't have it. Just like you, I didn't have anything like that in my
yeah.
childhood. My parents are still married. And I grew up as the oldest of 6 in a fucking white picket fence house in Ohio, for the love of God. But, to hear his story, to feel just a small piece of how that dude must have felt was, I mean, I still have a hard time putting into words exactly, kind of
Yeah.
how I feel about it. But that to say, like, I don't have that reach back moment. He got through something that was, it was hell on earth
Straight
for
up
him for
evil.
years as a child, for years. And he found a way to overcome it and go into the army. And now to be brave enough to tell that story as a man, as a veteran, as a combat veteran, to stand up and say, I was raped as a child by a family friend. Like, I don't know where you get that courage. I don't know how
Yeah.
you build that fortitude. I just don't.
So I mean, he's got reach back, right?
Right.
My reach backs are very different than that, and I don't really, I just reach back to moments that were difficult, and I'm like, well, I got through that,
Yeah.
and now that, so to equate that to where I'm at now, right? I always think like, okay, well, I did this at NDOC, and I did this when on a deployment or something like that, and really what it boils down to is this situation is not that bad unless it's somebody's life, limb, or eyesight. The situation is not that bad, and I'm not getting shot at. I can breathe. Everybody's healthy right now. We're going to be all right. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything's going to be fine.
Right.
Which is challenging at times when you do deal with people that can't, aren't able to self regulate like that, or they don't have those reach back moments and they can't like it's, oh my God, no, the world's ending. It's like, no, it's not. It's
Well,
it's
and then
fine.
and then you run the risk of too, like, oh, well, you don't care. Well, no, it's not that I don't care. It's that this isn't an emergency. You're talking about it like it's an emergency, but if your situation is going to be better in the hour after this conversation that we talk, like I promise you.
Yeah.
So it is tough for people that aren't able to kind of like fold that perspective in. And maybe that's the best advice that we could have for reach back moments or whatever. Use whatever reach back moment that you feel accomplished in. The point is you're supposed to anchor yourself to somewhere that you were successful, something that was hard and something that you made it through, in order to take the power away from the current thing, right? If everything is the worst thing in your life, if everything is the next biggest thing that's ever happened to you, it doesn't matter how many reach backs you have. It doesn't matter how prepared you are. You're going to catastrophize things to be like, okay, whatever. Listen, and it sounds cheesy. Basic ain't going to be easy. If you look back at basic training and you're like, man, look how far I've come in 16 weeks, you know what I mean? Between basic and SWIC, at least for right now. Look how far I've come in 16 weeks. You could use that as your own little mini reach back. Or you could, did you spend a year in depth? Did you spend a year killing yourself doing workouts just to get into the Air Force, only to quit the third day in? Come on.
All that time you put in?
Come on, got to be better than that.
Dude, it couldn't have been that bad.
Right.
All those development sessions for the 6 months, 8 months, whatever it was, basic training, and you quit during SWIC?
Come on. Come on.
Dude,
I don't
come on.
understand it. Could never be me.
Not that what we're saying is going to change a whole bunch of people's minds
not.
anyway, but
it's not.
Dude, the funny part about it is a lot of people quit after the smoke session is done.
Craziness
Dude,
to me. You're done.
You're on the other end of it.
You're done. We figured. I think I've laid this out before, but do you know when the only time that it's appropriate to quit is? Do you know?
I think it's a Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. You're right, and it's about 10 o'clock in the morning. Here's why: you can't quit on Monday. Monday's you don't even know how the week's going to go.
Dude, I mean, you've had 2 days off.
It's eval day. Usually eval days are pretty good until the end of the day. You're going to do some stuff. You're rested. You're hydrated. Probably. You feel good. Monday you can't quit. We're going to skip over Tuesday. Wednesday, halfway through the week. You're already halfway there. It's hump day. Don't quit on hump day. Thursday sucks, right? But Thursday's like Friday's little brother. Because if you can make it so Friday's little brother, right? Little brothers, they're not as cool, but they're still pretty cool. Thursday, Friday's little brother. And then Friday's Bulletproof Friday. Nobody quits on Friday. I don't care what it is, whatever. But Tuesday, okay? The afternoon, if you can make it through like lunchtime on Tuesday, you're golden. Because then it's the second half of the day. You can get to Taco Tuesday, maybe have a margarita, maybe have a michelada, just something delightful at the end of your day just to make you feel better. So no quitting Tuesday afternoon. But Tuesday at like 10 o'clock, you might be in the middle of the doldrums in that Mike Maltz Death Star pool that they got down there. You might just be getting just absolutely hammered. Monday didn't go well. Wednesday's not going to go well either. It's 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. If you quit then, it's at the Geneva Conventions. I can't hate you. It is. I mean, I get it. You don't have anything to live for. If you try to jump off the face of the earth right there as a way to get out of that pool training, I'd let you. You got a good point.
Well,
I'm okay with it.
You actually said something that makes me think about it in terms of building that kind of mental fortitude and it ties into probably some of that self-regulation and then also reach back is when you have kind of, for lack of a better word, chronic bad days.
Yep.
Like you said, oh, you had a bad day on Monday. Now it's Tuesday. Now I'm having a bad day.
I'm having a bad day again.
Sometimes a front of bad days just happens. And so a lot of times it's out of control. Sometimes it is within your control. Sometimes it's, hey, you woke up late and now you're in a scramble. And now it can, if you allow it to, it can set the tone for the rest of your day. But you've got to be able to stop, pause, reset, and know, okay, cool. Yeah, I did sleep in today, or I did have a bad day yesterday, or I had a bad week last week. It just wasn't my week. Because at some point during the pipeline or during basic or during development or during your time on team, that day or that week or that month or that mission is just not your day. It's just not. Everybody is going to have a bad day. Everybody's going to have a bad week. How you react and how you recover from it is what's going to not define you, but it's what's going to help build you up and make you stronger.
Right. Yeah. And it's a whole bunch of things play into this stuff too, right? Like understanding, we've talked about catastrophizing. We've talked about, self-fulfilling prophecies and stuff. And a lot of this stuff has to do with interrupting your thought patterns, right? Like just because you woke up late and you were scrambling to get out the door, your whole day isn't screwed. You know what I mean? You get into a car accident and you're like, oh, why do bad things happen to good people? Because the world is a unrelenting, terrible place full of chaos and sadness. That's why. Because it's a cold, cruel universe with a whole bunch of people that do not give a literal shit about you. That's why. But bad things do happen to good people, and it's not necessarily their fault. And good things happen to bad people. And that's really, really hard to understand. Like how can somebody with such low morals be so successful or be so good at the thing that you might want to do? Like that's hard to deal with too. The point is though, is that you have to be able to move past that. It can't become like you're saying, it can't be the world is against me. Everybody's against me. This day is going bad because I wasn't meant to succeed. That's when you start getting into those, the pit of sadness, a la the never ending story. Remember the horse's name from the never ending story?
It's not Atreyu, is
Lost in the, no, Atreyu was the dude.
Yep.
Falcor was the luck dragon. Artax. It's a good,
Oh yeah.
that's a good bar trivia. Yeah. The other one I'll put out here too. Let's try to get some comments. I'm going to mark it too. Here's a fun bar game to play. So there used to be 11 and now there are 10 teams that do not end in S. I will give, and I'm talking big four. So I'm talking baseball, football, hockey, and basketball. Okay. So question number one, there are 10 professional sports teams in the four big sports that do not end in an S. Like the Minnesota Wild is a hockey team that does not end in S, as opposed to the Cleveland Cavaliers,
Yes.
it ends in S. So there are like 10 teams. So go through and try to find those 10 teams. It's a fun bar challenge. My second other one that is sports related, there is, I'll ask you if you can figure this one out because it's fun. There is only one team that uses the same colors for every single sports team. And the reasoning behind it is they wanted their fans, if you bought a football jersey, you should be able to go to a baseball game and still see the color pattern in the stands. Okay. So there's only one city in America that did it. I won't give you the colors because it'll give it away right away, but there's only one team that all three sporting teams wear the same colors.
I was going to say Seattle, but I don't.
No. So the Mariners, the Mariners, they don't have a basketball team anymore. The Seahawks and the Mariners wear different colors. They're not the same.
I miss Sean Kemp in the Seattle.
I do. The Seattle
Sonics.
Supersonics. Those guys were crazy. I'm glad that they got the Kraken, but they do need. Seattle's a surprisingly good sports town. It's not as good as Vegas or somewhere else that has happiness is baked into their cake. But Seattle generally is a pretty good sports town. So they have the Sounders for their soccer team.
Yeah.
Let's see, the Kraken, and then they've got the Mariners and the Seahawks. And they're all pretty close down there. We actually had a dream. If you did it at the right part of the season, I think the only part of this is you'd have to see an XFL football game because they have XFL there as well. If you go in the right part of the year, you can see a hockey game, a baseball game, and a football game in the same day. And they're all close enough. Yeah, they're all close enough where you could just walk right to them.
Jeez.
So you could hit the Climate Pledge Arena and see a Kraken game. You could slide right over and see an XFL game. And depending on if the Mariners get in the playoffs, I think that was a caveat, is that if the Mariners are in the playoffs, you could go see a Mariners game and it'd all be in one little location. And if you were smart about it, you could see a concert in the same day and it'd be right down in that four little spot. It's pretty good. That's how it's set up. All right. So
hopefully somebody gets it in the trivia.
So I think somebody will. I think it's a pretty good one. And then when you hear it, you're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I guess I didn't think about it, but there's a bunch of them. So we'll see if somebody gets it. But
yeah, because I can't think of one right now. So
no, nice. I will tell you, Florida is easy for the first one. Focus on Florida because it knocks out I think there's 5 teams there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild Magic. Yeah.
Right.
Orlando
the hockey
Magic,
team.
Yeah. What's the hockey team?
Tampa Bay Lightning.
Oh, duh.
You lived
in Tampa.
You lived in Tampa multiple times. Like, what are you doing? You lived there for a while.
Dude, the Lightning are huge in Tampa. That's great.
Well, yeah, win a couple fucking Stanley Cups. That's what happens, baby.
It's amazing how that happens.
Everybody loves a winner. What else? What else for mental preparation?
Winners. Onesready.com for loving winners. That'll get you. Onesready.com. Get you some Attack Elite gear. We're talking about mental fortitude. Talking about prepping. Attack Elite gear will help you prep for the pipeline. You can get everything they have, all of their gear. If you're going Naval Special Warfare for Buds, you're going to go to Ranger School, SFAS for Green Berets, Outspec War. It's all there. All there. You don't even need to go to their site. They got a great site. They got the best site.
They get the
But
best site. Some of these sites, beautiful. Attack Elite site,
yeah.
great, fantastic, sanctimonious. It's a witch hunt.
But you could just go straight over to our site, onesready.com. The discount's baked in, so you don't need to worry about it. And then while you're there, you could also pick up some of our merch too. So
yeah, we might even restock some shirts. Who knows? Limited release coming out.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. I don't have to.
I don't know.
I'm not the one that does it.
Yeah. Going back to what you had talked about in terms of being dependable, though, I think being dependable and telling somebody and the follow through, really, it's really about the follow through. You tell somebody you're going to be someplace. Obviously, things happen, but you tell somebody you're going to do something, you're going to accomplish a task, or, hey, Matt, I'm going to do this, or I'll meet you there. It sounds simple and it sounds stupid, but it actually, it builds in fortitude, and it helps foster a mentality that we need you to have and want you to have. Because I'm going to, we have relied on each other. You and I haven't been deployed together, but on training events, we absolutely have. Whether it's jump masters doing JMPIs or inspections for the folks out there, whether it's being out on the range with Nellis, where I'm calling in aircraft, doing close air support runs while you're dealing with patients. Like, we've done that, literally done that. And you're relying on me and I'm relying on you. And if I tell you, if you tell me, hey, I can get these guys out in 5 minutes, I can package them up and get them ready for Excel in 5 minutes, like, I'm going to believe you. I'm also adding on 5 minutes on top of that because I know that that's not really true.
Right.
For any PJ that's out there, not just you.
I love that it's the standard answer. We used to joke about standard answers. Hey, you got 2 patients and you got 2 litters over there. How long is it going to take you to get them ready to go? And the students would be like, I don't know, 5 minutes. And everybody would just like, no,
all right, 10 or 15.
Absolutely not. And then like the other one was like, how far away is it? It was always like 40 meters. Something would be like the guy in your non-magnified EOTech would be like this big. And you'd be like, hey, using your EOTech, how far away you guys think that is? They'd be like, 40 meters? How far do we got to go? 40 meters? Bro, you can almost touch it. That's 40 meters away. Like, they had no idea how far 40 meters was. It was either 2 miles away or it was right next to you. It was 40 meters.
Yeah.
So that would be the joke. We'd be like, okay, how long is it going to take to get these people? Let me guess, 5 minutes. How far to move them over there? Let me guess, 40 meters. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Anytime I was talking to PJs and then I would relay, like, as I'm figuring out the times, I'm like, okay, I'm looking and I'm going, man, you're nowhere near to having that guy wrapped up and packaged. All right, we got 15 minutes, boys.
We got 15 minutes. You guys are fine. Oh, 5 minutes? Okay, cool. And then you're over the net. Hey, guys, it's not going to be 5 minutes. But, you guys got a couple of minutes.
But being dependable, following through, and being doing what you say you're going to do is a huge thing. And that reminds me, there's actually 2 books that I think are good for people and it's called Start, and the other one's called Finish. And they're both by John Acuff, who is he should still be one of the kind of Dave Ramsey personalities that he has on, but really good books. I mean, starting, that shows fortitude right there, or at least, start something that you don't know what it is. And you could start, whether that's the Air Force, whether that's, I'm just going to visit a recruiter, I'm going to go to MEPS, I'm going to get my physical so that then I can train with a development. That's starting. You start in your development. Yep. Just having the intestinal fortitude to actually go, you know what? I just graduated high school, or I don't like where I'm at in this job, or I've always wanted to do this. There's never going to be a great time. There's never like, all right, man, I got to give it a year. I mean, granted, if you just graduated, or you just finished your junior year and you're going to senior, obviously you have to wait a year, right? But if you're not in that position, or you just graduated and you keep going, I need a year. Maybe you do just to get physically ready. But if you keep kicking that can down the road, you're not going to do it. So you got to be uncomfortable and go, you know what? I said I'm going to do this. That's why I think it's important to tell everybody. Tell everybody that you're going to do this. Right. Tell people online. Tell all your family and friends, because if they care about you, and if they care about you, they are going to hold you accountable.
Yep.
And go like, hey bro, what's up? I thought you were leaving in March for Ranger school. Thought you were going to be a Ranger. What's up with that?
Mm-hmm. The administration, man. I just don't think the geopolitics is in the right space for me now. Plus, I wanted to do a lot more DA, and it sort of looks like the guys are getting away from that. So, like,
dude,
get
just
out of
start.
here.
Just start.
Get out of here.
Uncomfortable, and you will grow to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the whole thing we're talking about here, like, I can't help but every time I hear us kind of like switch topics to and everything, all we're doing is we're giving you the answer to something that we've never been able to answer before, which is like, how do I train these attributes? This entire episode, we have told you how to like, you want to learn how to be a good teammate? Be where you are supposed to be and do what you are supposed to do. That's everything from taping your gear correctly to being on time to not having people come find you when it's time to put team gear away. That's how you can be a good teammate. That's how you can be a good follower. That's how you can be a good leader, by doing these things. Like, good time management that shows maturity, having a reach back moment to understand that right this second, that's not like the worst thing ever. You know what that's called? It's called grit. It's called being able to deal with adversity and not flipping out or not being too excited or not looking like you're out of control of your emotions. So when you look at those 9 attributes that we've been talking about for years on this podcast, the question is, well, how do I train those things? Well, you do this. You train them like everything else. You prepare for them. You understand what they are, and then you find actionable ways to actually like make them better.
And you go towards it. You go towards it. You don't avoid the difficult problems, right? You don't sit here and like, oh man, I'm gonna go a different way because maybe
I'm not
these
lifting
people
legs today because I'd rather lift chest and I'm a little bit tired.
I'm going straight for it, and I'm gonna own it. If I'm going to happen to it, it's not happening to me. Like on the run I went on this morning, I'm gonna tell you what, it was happening to me. 100% it was happening.
It was happening to me. I was in my feelings. It was not fun.
No. And Maggie, as I'm sitting here running with her, she's just like she's just having the best day ever. Just,
exactly. Yeah.
Probably just going like, dude, I'm sick of pulling your weight on this run. You really need to get your shit together.
It'd be so funny. Like, I wish we could put ourselves like, because it might be completely nothing. It could be, to get inside of a dog's head when they're on a run. It might just be just like, oh, look, tree. Oh, it's so nice to be out here. Or it might just be, this piece of shit, he's going to quit. He's not running all 4 miles today. I can tell right now by the way he's slowing down. Oh,
I already called it.
Oh, wow. I can see the house, and look, he's starting to slow down. He's looking at his watch. Here it comes. Here it comes. And then that dog judges you for the rest of the day.
Heavy? Good God, man. I don't have sweat glands. I'm panting, and you sound worse than me.
I have 2 more legs to move than you do. And it's not like you get to use the rest of your body. I have to use all 4 legs. It's terrible.
And I'm covered in fur. And it's Vegas, and it's hot.
This quickly went from something that was sort of valuable to just complete and total insanity in like one
But
win.
you hit on something in terms of focusing on team gear, right? So being selfless, don't focus on yourself. That'll help you too.
And that's a muscle. You can learn how to do man. I don't know when I did this. And again, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I'm just trying to say that this is a thing that I did that is, it's valuable for me. My wife, when she looks at me and she goes, hey, can you do this thing? I stop what I'm doing, unless it's like super important, but 99% of your day, you're not doing something that's super important. The other 1% of your day, your spouse isn't going to ask you to do something important when she sees you doing something important. Anyway, I've just made it a habit where she says, hey, can you go get me X, or can you go do this? I just put my stuff down. I get up, I go do it. And then I come back down to wherever I was. So I did it for a while. I don't remember why I started doing it, but I'll tell you the reflections from other people, when other people are like, oh, wow, you guys get along so good. And she doesn't ask me for things that I like, that she doesn't need. Because she knows if she asks me to do something, I'm going to go do it right then. You know what that does? It makes our relationship better, because she cuts down it in her head. She goes, wait a second. If I ask Aaron to do this, he's going to stop what he's doing right now. He's going to go do it. And then he's going to come back to what he was doing. So for her, that she goes, wait a second, is this really important? Do I really need his help? Is this something I really need to do? And then for me, I go, okay, well, she's already gone through that process. She's already figured out that this is most important. She needs the help, but she's going to ask me as her husband to help her out. That's why I get up right away and go do it, because it's important. And that little relationship hack, it's the dumbest thing, but I'll tell you what, it works. But it's an exercise in being selfless. It's
Yeah.
an exercise in being, being able to look at a situation and go, okay, the world is falling down on us right now at the pool. How can we get out of this area the fastest? The heat mitigation guys need some help. I'm going to go over, I'm going to pick up a heavy piece of heat mitigation stuff. I don't need to be just packing my own ruck to get out of here. That doesn't get us out of here. The team gear
No.
gets packed first, and then your personal gear, and then
Yep.
all else. That's it.
But it ties into that, hey, putting others before yourself. It's helping other, and I don't think like it will serve you better mentally, physically, especially physically, because
You're
you
not
start
getting
missing
smoked over
timelines, you're gonna get
being a
punished.
shitbag.
But
Yeah.
it's going to help you mentally and your excuse me, your, not that you're doing this for peer reviews, but people know when you're the dude, when you're
Right.
that dependable
Yep.
person. They like, again, when you tell somebody you're going to do something and you're that dependable person, or like, man, I wonder if they're if you have to wonder if somebody's taking care of something team gear wise, that means you should probably be down there. But apart from that,
Right.
you know, Spencer Boss, he says he's going to get something done.
That dude's getting it
That
done.
dude's going to come through and he's going to get something done.
And I'm not going to have to ask it before it's finished.
No.
He's going to and when you start to emulate those people, and everybody has these the instructor names are, amazing. And the team, the people that you've worked for, you want to be like those people. I want to be the type of person that is the go-to guy.
Yep.
Well, what does that mean? That means that you have to know your shit back and forth. You have to be there on time. You can't screw up little things. Everybody's going to fail, right? But when you do fail, you have to be able to immediately orient, not fail again, and then be better on the back end of it. And, when you say those names like Spencer or, some of these other names in the career field that you're just like, no, they got it. If they say they got it, I'm not going to talk to them. It'll be done on time because that's who they are. Just doesn't happen. Like very few people are born like that. They had to work on that.
No. And that's the funny thing is his name just popped into my head, but I mean, you could go from anywhere and just focusing it on like instructors. And I know that there's a bunch of instructors but you have your Eric Beardens, your Spencer Bosses, your Mike Perillo. I know he's not there anymore, but I'm sure that there's people that are listening that know exactly who I'm talking about. Right. Mm-hmm. And there are more instructors down there that I can't think of at this moment, but if you start
Shout out to Chase Mead, Pararescue Senior NCO of the Year. Good job, Chase.
Brandon Anderson.
Yeah.
Like,
these guys crush it.
Yeah. And you could think of a bunch of CCT, PJ, SR, TAC P.
Not nearly as many CCT. Typically the awards are won by PJs. That's all I'm saying.
SEALs. I mean, like anybody, you can pick those people out and go like, oh yeah, if that dude's touching this thing, like he's got a part in this.
Yep.
And if that person, even more so, if that person's the lead dude on that, dude, okay, I'm on to the next thing. I ain't worried about that thing.
Yeah,
that
I'm not even. Yeah,
going
you just
to
tell
do
me
it
when you're
way better than I ever could have.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like Vice recently interviewed a couple folks for my job to replace me, and we're kind of talking about the people, and I'm like, you know what, you cannot make a wrong decision with the people that are on there because they are better than me, and I legitimately truly believe that they are better than me at the job that I'm currently doing. You will not make a bad decision in this. Like, I recognize my strengths and I recognize my weaknesses, and they are better at all the things that I have.
They're better at my strengths and they don't have the weaknesses. It's a pretty easy slam dunk, Vice.
Like, listen, not a bad choice.
Right. Not a bad choice among them. But to wrap this thing up, like, man, it takes time. Like you have to work at this deliberately. You're not just going to show up one day and be prepared. Like, and the fact that people don't take mental preparation as seriously as physical preparation is hilarious to me. Like, what'd you do this week? Oh, I ran 40 plus miles. I swam 10 plus miles, had appropriate weightlifting, did a bunch of WaterCon stuff. Okay, cool. What did you do mentally? Did you think your way through any of these processes? Be like, no, why do I need to do that? Well, because it's an attributes-based selection and there's a high value placed on those attributes. So you should understand what they're looking for at the very least. And that's what we try to do today. I don't know how successful we were.
No, but the final thing that I would say is be okay starting at the bottom, because we, even you retire, I'll eventually retire, and I may not start at the bottom wherever I go, but I got to be okay with it. I
Oh
got
yeah.
to be okay. And you are entering an organization that, whether it's Aspect War or NSW, whatever, there is a pay to play. And that is, for us, that is the IFT. That is the
Yep.
pay to play. That is development. That is BMT, SWIC, INDOC 2.0, wherever it's going to be, right?
I love it.
That's right. I just had to throw that
I
in
don't
there.
get, yeah, make NDOT great again. I don't care.
Yeah.
The official, unofficial podcast of the Air Force fully supports NDOT 2.0.
So whatever it's going to be, right? You joined us and you are starting at the bottom. Okay. That doesn't mean you're lesser of a person or less capable or whatever, but we all had to start someplace, and you got to be okay with that. And as long as you can be okay with that, then you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And you're just going to have a freaking blast. I get so jealous when I see some of those dudes that are in the SWIC in the pool. At the same time, I'm also like, man, I'm kind of glad I'm not in the pool.
Right.
But at the same time, like, dude, they're having so much fun.
Yeah. It's like the old Office quote. I wish you could figure out that you were in the golden times before the golden times passed.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, if you're in the pipeline, I know it might not feel like it. If you're at the pipeline, you might be at SWIC, you might be at selection, might be further on in pre-dive or maybe one of the schools. You're in the golden times. You're going to talk about the pipeline for the rest of your life until you hit a deployment. Then you'll talk about deployments. And then once you hit like 2 or 3 deployments, you just revert back to pipeline stories anyway. So, man,
that's true, because they're more fun.
They're way more fun than any deployment story. Pipeline stories are always better because of the shenanigans.
All right, cool. Well, hopefully that was beneficial for everybody out there, but please comment, because if you have, like, Aaron and I we've talked about a bunch of different things on this that we see and that we've experienced, but there are for sure some folks out there that have some other tools. So if you have those tools, put them in the comments, put them on Instagram, DM them to us, and then we'll, this isn't the last time that we'll have a mental fortitude episode, but like, hey, I'm open to trying new stuff, because I'm always in the market to get more mentally tough.
1% better every day, baby. That's how you make worldwide gains. 1% better every day.
That's it.
All right, everybody. Like us, follow us, share it, leave a review, leave a comment. Just something nice. Just caress that subscribe button. Really make it love you, and then smash. That's how it works. Just smash. All right. See ya next time.
Light up.